Bernard being alive isn't the twist. The real twist is that the show may have been preparing us for his survival the entire time and hiding it in plain sight. Because once you really look at Silo Season 3, Episode 4, his return stops feeling like some random shock and starts feeling like part of a much larger system moving exactly the way it was designed to move. There is something much more dangerous happening here than one man surviving. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now, this episode works because it quietly changes the question. At first, you think it is asking, how is Bernard still alive? But by the end, the more interesting question becomes, who knew he was alive and what else has been hidden in the same way? And the character at the center of that shift is Robert Sims. Let's start there, because I honestly think this was the strongest Sims episode the show has done so far. For years, he has been the enforcer, the man who would do whatever had to be done in order to protect Silo 18. He justified harshness, secrecy, and control because he truly believed the silo had to survive at any cost. But this season has been peeling away that certainty. First, Bernard kept him outside the inner circle. Then the algorithm passed him over and elevated Camille instead. And now, in Episode 4, when Camille decides Juliette may need to die for the stability of the silo, Sims does not react like the obedient tool he used to be. He offers help, yes, but the important thing is what that help actually looks like. He redirects the entire operation.
The nurse ends up sedating Emerson instead of Juliette. Juliette escapes, and then when she reaches room 76, it is Sims waiting for her there. This is not the behavior of a man fully loyal to the system anymore. In my opinion, Sims is no longer trying to preserve the silo the way Bernard did. He is trying to preserve his family while staying one step ahead of a system that no longer fully trusts him either. And that is exactly why Bernard matters. Because Bernard being alive suggests that Sims has been running a much bigger hidden game than anyone realized. Think about it. If Bernard had really died, the show would have given that moment closure, emotional weight, a real endpoint. But it never did. Instead, it left behind too many practical gaps, too many unanswered pieces, and now those gaps look intentional. If anyone would have known about hidden routes, contingency spaces, and off-record survival plans beneath the silo, it would be Bernard. And if anyone would understand that preserving Bernard might become useful later, it would be Sims. So for me, this episode is not just saying Bernard survived. It is saying his survival was part of a controlled secret, and Sims may have been one of the few people keeping it that way. Now, let's move over to the Orla mystery, because this is the other thread that became much darker than it first seemed. At first, Orla just looked missing. Then the mines and the rat poison made it seem like maybe she had simply been caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Episode 4 changes that.
She did not die from poison. She was killed through blunt force trauma and then moved. That means this was not accidental. It was deliberate. And the question is, who needed her gone badly enough to hide the body? We know she was investigating disappearing supplies. We know she had tension with the Harwoods. We know she had recently spoken to the mayor and seemed almost energized by what she had learned. So somebody clearly saw her as a threat. Personally, I think the most dangerous part of this storyline is not even the murder itself. It is what it says about the current silo. There are now people inside this structure willing to remove one of their own just to protect a hidden operation. That means the silo is no longer just politically controlled. It is internally predatory. And once that starts happening, trust does not just weaken, it rots. Now let's bring in Lucas, because his scenes with Patrick Kennedy's group are doing heavy lifting too. Lucas is trying to explain one of the oldest lies in the show. The cleaning helmets do not show reality. They project it. That means the outside is safe belief the outsiders are clinging to is just as unstable as the version of reality the committee wants everyone else to believe. And what makes that so good is that nobody gets an easy truth here. The system lies, the rebels oversimplify, and Lucas is stuck trying to explain something horrifying to people who need hope more than they need accuracy. That is why Patrick is such an interesting character. He does not reject Lucas because the evidence is weak.
He rejects him because if Lucas is right, then the one thing keeping Patrick emotionally alive collapses. That is what the season does so well. The truth is not just dangerous because it threatens the system. It is dangerous because it threatens the people built around surviving inside the lie. Now, let's shift to the older timeline, because I think the Helen and Daniel material gets even more unnerving here. The Bigfoot guy, or whatever we want to call this mystery watcher, is no longer just a creepy recurring face. His repeated presence is now evidence of a larger operation. He is around Charlotte before the mission, around the funeral, around the clinic, and around Helen's career collapse. That is not random surveillance. That is targeted containment. Helen knows it too, which is why she ditches the phone, uses handwritten directions, and keeps moving like someone who knows the system is already ahead of her. And the more she digs, the worse the old world story starts to look. The dirty bomb question, the strange cloud, the outdated military equipment, the vanishing personnel, the medical suppression of Charlotte's memory, all of that points toward a world where the official version of events is no longer believable. In my opinion, the biggest implication here is that the same logic running Silo 1-8 was already alive in the world above 350 years ago. Control information, erase dangerous memories, preserve order by narrowing what people are allowed to know. That is why Daniel Keene matters so much.
I do not think he is just a political side character. I think he is being positioned as someone whose technology, status, or ideology helped shape the silo system itself. Not necessarily because he wanted evil, but because this story has always been about good intentions being consumed by systems of control. And if Daniel takes even one step too far in the wrong direction, then the line between him and the algorithm becomes terrifyingly thin. Now, before I wrap up, here's the fast-fire version of what Episode 4 really confirms. Sims is no longer just an enforcer. He is operating in secret. Bernard's survival was likely planned, or at least prepared for. Orla's death proves there's a hidden operation inside the silo worth killing over. Lucas is trying to puncture the outsider myth before it becomes another disaster. The mystery man in the old world timeline is part of a much bigger containment effort. Helen is now in real danger, and Juliette is no longer the only threat to the system. The system itself is starting to show cracks from every direction. So overall, I think Silo Season 3, Episode 4 works because it stops asking who is lying and starts asking how big is the lie actually. And the answer now feels much larger than Juliette, much older than Bernard, and much more dangerous than anyone inside Silo 1-8 is ready for. But anyway, that is my breakdown of Silo Season 3, Episode 4, and why I think Bernard being alive is only the beginning of the real reveal. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Sims saved Bernard as part of a plan, or is he just improvising his way through a system that is finally losing control? I will catch you in the next one.